We're in the President's Cup final. We're in the NBA final. And we're so close we can taste the Stanley Cup final. All that and more at Sports QuaranTV. What's up? Welcome to another episode of Sports QuaranTV. Chris Dobson, Gerry Green. We know we weren't here last week, but we're excited to be back, Gerry. We've got a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on. And after we kicked off in the headline, we're going to start with the QMJHL in the President's Cup finals. Charlottetown and Shawinigan going head-to-head, although it looks like Shawinigan's surprising a lot of Islanders fans right now.
That's for sure, Chris. And a little bit of a surprise, Shawinigan did bump off the number one
Quebec
team,
Remparts.
Quebec Rampart, and they did that in Quebec, and they did it in overtime in a deciding game number 5. Don't get me started about game 5s. So that was a surprise. While Charlottetown, who's been very good in the playoffs, eliminated a very good Sherbrooke team in Sherbrooke in 4. That's after, again, Charlottetown wins 2 at home, and it's a best of 5. Then you got to go to the other rink.
Right.
And so forth. Anyways, so it's interesting to see Shawinigan, the underdog, against the higher ranked Charlottetown Islanders, go into Charlottetown and surprise them in game 1. And they do so with the power play, scoring lots of power play goals against the Islanders, who going into that final series, the President's Cup final series, were 81% success rate when killing penalties. But they've allowed 5 of the 7 power plays that Shawinigan has had, they've scored on 5 of them, Chris. That's outrageous. And so then they go to overtime in game number 2 under some controversy about a call that was made late in the 3rd period. Just some details about it, Chris. And I have a little bit to say about this, because if you're a championship team, you don't let one call affect the whole game. The one call did not score a goal. The one call did give a power play in the last 71 seconds of a game. So either you kill the power play and don't let them score in the last seconds of the hockey game, or then win it in overtime. Do one or the other. But don't sulk about a call that didn't result in a goal. It resulted in a power play that a goal was scored with just 6 seconds, Chris. They were that close away from killing the penalty. So I have a little bit of a sore spot about harboring and using as a crutch a call in a hockey game that was controversial, absolutely, but it's not the do-all end-all.
Was it though?
It's why Shawinigan's ahead 2-0.
But yeah, okay, and I'm glad you brought it up, because this is where I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm going to go off on a bit of a rant here, because to me, look, the call was made, and it was a gloved inside the face-off weird. Like the whole way this thing happened, whether you like the call, you hate the call, the fact that the linesman made it, and I don't normally like to do this, and I've been criticized for criticizing officials live on air. I've had terrible messages come into my inbox. Nothing irritates me more than when these idiot keyboard warriors get behind your Twitters, your Instagrams of the world, and start criticizing officials for what they're doing. More notably, the fact that some of the people who are doing this are members of the media themselves. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like, it's embarrassing. So look, this isn't the first time we've seen a linesman, and it's not the last time we've seen a linesman make a questionable call. Yes, unfortunately, it resulted in a goal against for Charlottetown. And yeah, the fans are upset. You're allowed to be upset. You're allowed to do what you want. But to literally watch them criticize and send threats to those linesmen over social media, like, get it together. So either way, you look at some of the, you and I have worked close with some of these officials, Gerry, over the last decade, so to see this stuff go down. But as far as Charlottetown goes, you're right. You're a championship caliber team. Look, the whole point of having a power play is you have the advantage. Whether you like it or you hate it, you're built on that model to kill the penalty. That's what you were trained to do, and they didn't do it. So don't whine about it. Anyways, I'm going to stop, because, we'll get canceled if I actually say what I want to say.
I've always been passionate about any team that I've ever covered, and I've certainly had my moments where I have criticized officials. But to blame an official for the loss when you had ample opportunity to correct the injustice that you thought you were being handed by getting this penalty called late in your game is what I have an issue with. And to get personal about it is also what I have an issue with.
Hey,
Ken.
but what do you know? You're the most homer play-by-play guy in the league.
That's
What do
right.
you know? What do
Yeah,
you know?
nobody else. There's nobody else that in the Maritime Division that is one that backs the team that they're covering. But Charlottetown certainly has the ability to go into Shawinigan and win 2 games, and then you're back at even Steven. If they're the team they think they are, that's what they should do and be motivated to do so. It should be fun to watch. I think Game 3 is continuing, and Game 4 will be tonight as well.
Yeah, I mean, so you look at how that whole thing's happening right now. And again, it was a shock to see Shawinigan get through Quebec, but I don't hate it. I absolutely love it. I know that, when Quebec didn't win the Memorial Cup bid, St. John did. Everybody automatically assumed that it was going to be St. John, Quebec. Then Charlottetown proved to everybody St. John gets eliminated. I was rooting for the Islanders when this thing started. I would love to see 2 Atlantic Canadian teams represent the Q in the Memorial Cup. And there's still a great chance for that to happen. Charlottetown's not out yet. They just need one. They got to get that win. So we'll see how it plays out. But I do want to kind of flip the script a little bit and talk a little bit about the Memorial Cup, Jerry, and look at some of the other leagues and like how those series are playing out right now. I mean, the WHL, there's a little bit of a shocker happening in the OHL right now.
Yeah, the OHL, the Windsor Spitfires, who are in the final against the Hamilton Bulldogs. And the Bulldogs heavily favored, but Windsor has the lead in the best of 7 thus far. Again, that's a best of 7. So is the Q final, by the way, folks, is a best of 7. And the WHL, which has Edmonton and Seattle battling it out, Edmonton has the lead there. That is also a best of 7. So those are the other 4 teams besides the 2 in the Q that are trying to get to the Memorial Cup. Edmonton's favored and Hamilton was favored, but nothing's, especially Major Junior Hockey, Chris. Anything can happen. Absolutely.
And it was interesting to see because you look at these teams. Edmonton's only lost 2 games the entire postseason, one of them being in this final. They lost against Winnipeg in the semis, and now they've got 1 loss to Seattle so far in the finals. So it looked like Edmonton's probably paving their way to the Memorial Cup as we speak. I love them Cup. We're what? I don't even know how many days away, like 10 days away at this point, 10, 12 days away before you and I will be heading to St. John. And, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. I'm really excited to see Gardner McDougall behind the bench for the St. John Sea Dogs going into this tournament. It's just, they announced their concert lineup in St. John. Either way, man, I'm fired up. The Mem Cup's just about a little over a week away.
Should be fun. And speaking of Edmonton, why don't we move on to the NHL and the way the Oilers and the Avalanche concluded their series? Chris, it just appeared to me Edmonton has a real good team. Avalanche, just another level with their speed and their ability to move the puck and the talent that they have on their blue line. They still, here you have, and it's been a theme through the playoffs, Chris, we haven't seen number 1 goaltenders very much. Even though Smith is number 1 in Edmonton,
no, he's not.
Got by him. But even here you are in Game 4 trying to stay alive, and you scored 5 goals and still couldn't win. I'm talking about the Oilers, because the theme through the playoffs is you got a lot of backup goaltenders playing, except in the East, where you have 2 big guys in Shesterkin and
Vasilevsky.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That have been leading their teams. So it's interesting to see when Colorado plays either one of New York or Tampa Bay in the final with still maybe their backup goaltender, how they're going to do against number 1s that the Rangers and Tampa have.
You can't expect to win a series allowing 5.5 goals a game.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. And I mean, we criticized the Oilers and not upgrading their goaltending and Mike Smith at the trade deadline. Look, Mike Smith played well enough to get them there in games 1 or 2. Even the Calgary series, I think they gave up combined game 1 was 8 goals. Look, they've got to do something. Mike Smith's 41 now. The Oilers have proven they're a very good team. Leon Draisaitl looked like he was playing on 1 leg in that last game.
Oh, no.
But, I mean, he's hurt. And, you can tell the Oilers aren't far off. And I like what that team is. They needed a goaltender. And I'm actually surprised. I go back again. I'm shocked they didn't call the Montreal Canadiens about Jake Allen to see what his health status was, what his availability was, because his new contract's about to kick in at $1.5 million, which the Oilers aren't going to have a whole lot of cap space available. But Zach Hyman looked good. Duncan Keith looked good for them.
Yeah.
Anyways, I feel for Oilers fans, but at the same time, good for Oilers fans because there was a brief period where people didn't even think they were going to make the postseason, Jerry.
And don't tell me what kind of effect Evander Kane had. He's been a positive effect. I don't know what goes on off the ice, but he's been absolutely shot in the arm for them as secondary scoring.
He's about to get paid.
Well, yeah, but they're saying that Edmonton can't pay him. Is that true? So he can't end up in Edmonton?
Not unless he's willing to take a massive pay cut because, yeah, the Oilers don't have the cap space. They can't afford him.
Nobody wanted him for a bargain either, Chris. So now all of a
I
sudden,
understand, but he's proven that,
now?
if you're going to take Evander Kane somewhere, you can't make him the focus. You can't make him the star because he's proven that he can't handle that yet. But him going into Edmonton, realizing he's playing on a fraction of a contract to prove a point. Look, you're not going to walk into Edmonton and you're not going to call out Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl because they are saviors in Edmonton. You're a nobody at that point. Sit in the stands. But if you put him as the central focus, like if you go back to San Jose, realistically, outside of Brent Burns, who was there? That was really the face of the San Jose Sharks. Evander Kane's an elite talent in the National Hockey League. He just had some off-ice issues that he had to deal with. He's proven.
And you think he's going to get a lot of suitors? You think he's going to get
someone's going to come calling? Absolutely, someone is going to pay Evander Kane.
Why wouldn't they take him at a bargain basement price and give him a shot? Why then do you wait and see what happens?
Because I don't think he's going to sign one. I don't think his agent will allow that to happen. I think Evander Kane is now at a point. I'm not saying he's going to get ridiculous money, but he's going to at least get himself
Chris,
maybe 4.5, 5 million.
Chris, I'm talking about when Edmonton signed him. Nobody else were going to sign him. It's not like
Edmonton that we know of.
Didn't outbid anybody.
That we know of. No, because they said, hey, look, we're going to give you a chance because nobody else wants you.
Okay, so now they want him now, do they? And want to pay more for him.
Well, look what he's done in the playoffs. Why wouldn't you?
That's what I'm saying. But you didn't give him credit. You didn't have any faith in his ability before now, and now you think
I had all kinds. I said right off the gate, this is a no-brainer offer for the Edmonton Oilers and Evander Kane. You have nothing to lose. Say he's an idiot, you put him in the stands. You barely paid for him. But he had to prove his net worth. He had to prove his contract, and he did just that. Like I said, I'm not saying he's going to make $7-8 million, but he's going to make $4.5, $5 million guaranteed.
Do you think he deserved the penalty that he got? And did you think it was flagrant? I didn't think it was flagrant. Yes,
I don't think it was flagrant.
Unfortunately, it's game 4.
And that's just it. And I think, I don't think it's flagrant, but I do think that, tempers overheated a few times in that series. And for once it wasn't Nazem Kadri on the other side. Speaking of guys who are about to get paid,
right?
Nazem Kadri is going to do that. But overall, at this point, if you take this whole thing aside, now that Colorado did win, Edmonton's they know what they need to do. They know where they need to improve. Do you think there's any chance that either the Rangers and or Tampa Bay are going to beat Colorado? Yeah. I just don't see it.
Absolutely.
I don't see it.
If the juggernaut of the Rangers can knock off Tampa, they can knock off the Colorado Avalanche, especially if you have goaltending behind you. Now, let's think about this for a second. If Edmonton had reliable and at times above average goaltending, they certainly could have made a better series out of that with Colorado, because obviously they could shoot and score just as well as Colorado could, and they could play at that tempo, but it was on the defensive end. I think both Tampa and the New York Rangers have more defense to throw at Colorado and have ways to beat Colorado and can keep up with them offensively. I do think now that it's tied at 2 between the Rangers and the Avalanche, I hope the Rangers can hold home ice advantage, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa knocks them off, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa wins their 3rd cup.
I had this conversation with some of the boys the other day, and that was in the Final Four, Edmonton, Colorado, New York, Tampa Bay. It didn't matter to me who won. I was excited for any outcome for one reason. Nobody in the salary cap era is ever going to win 3 cups in a row, not for a very long time. This is extremely awesome to see. The Rangers are young. They're fun. Love watching Gerard Gallant do what he's done. Obviously, I would have loved to have seen Connor McDavid take his team there. But watching Nathan McKinnon do his, man, it's fun. And it's fun because it's sad that we don't have any other Canadian teams left in the Stanley Cup final. But overall, I don't know. I'm Colorado all the way at this point.
Here's an interesting stat, Chris, before we move on, and it came out of the mouth of Mark Messier the other night. He said, even to win 3 in a row, the Oilers, if you think about it, never did win 3 in a row of all the cups that they've won.
Right.
The last team to win 3 in a row, the New York Islanders. So it's very interesting when you think about what is and could be the dynasty that is the Tampa Bay Lightning. I like both the Lightning and the Rangers. Whichever one gets to the final, I like how they stack up against the Avalanche.
So we're going to move on, and we're going to leave hockey altogether because there is another massive story that starts this weekend, and that, of course, is the LIV tournament starts this weekend, the very first tournament in the Saudi Arabia Golf Club. Man, so this has been gathering traction nonstop about who's going to go, who's going to stay, who's going to go, who's going to stay. Now that the dust seems to have settled, and the money that's, the prize pool money and the contract money that's being discussed, that players going the other way. What are your thoughts on it? Are you excited to see it?
I'm excited to see it. And technically, they like to call it the Live Invitational Series. There's going to be 8 events, 48 players, 54 holes, and that's where you get Live from, is the Roman numerals LIV is where you get the 54 from, and they call it Live. And it's a different format, Chris, now, and this is what'll be fun about it. Just like, do you remember when you used to have John Daly and those guys go to PEI and play a skins game? It's an event, and that's what these guys are getting big money for, is for appearing at these events and also vying for prize money, big prize money. So they're going to play team competitions. They're going to have shotgun starts. Nobody's going to miss the cut. It's a whole new realm of golf, and I think it'll be fun because the average golfer does a lot of shotgun starts. Average golfer gets into tournaments that are team competitions, be it scrambles, 4-man, 2-man, whatever the case may be. And it'll be fun to see the professionals play that way. They're claiming it's a way to expose golf to more of the world. That's what some of these guys who are taking the money are explaining, the reason why they want to do it. I do not blame them for taking the money. It is big money, but if you notice the names, Chris, most of them are over 30 and have established themselves by either PGA or European tours and are big names in the PGA. The biggest name that's going is Dustin Johnson, who just announced he's ranked 15th currently in the FedEx Cup rankings or world rankings, but he has won it before, and he's seen the value of going. And still, Chris, and I'll let you talk here in a second, and still having the opportunity, because the majors aren't governed by the PGA, they're governed by the U.S. Golf Association and or the British Open, and so they could also go to those events. I think you're getting the best of two worlds.
Was when you saw Phil come out and say that he's officially going over as well, because there was a lot of controversy as to where the whole issue started with him and the PGA, and there was still, up until 3 days ago, rumors he was going to be playing in the upcoming tournament. Excuse me. But overall, the concept of this, I just wish the players would just come out and say it. I'm leaving for the money. Yes. No one would be ashamed of it. No one would be upset about it. That's exactly what it is. You're not going because it's better golf. You're not going because you're literally following the money. And everybody out there respects that. They're like, look, you don't have to lie to me. You just tell me. But again, these guys are all trained professional media athletes. They tell you the canned responses. Oh, I'm really looking. Anyways, overall, I'm excited for it.
Wasn't Mickelson's first discussion about this event as a protest against the PGA?
Absolutely, it was.
The PGA cannot offer contracts to individual players, and that's what's really happening here. They're free agents that are being drafted or being hired or signed to come and play in this event. And the PGA has no control of it. PGA can't legally stop them from going, can't legally stop them from coming back and playing in a PGA event. But now rescind his PGA membership has Dustin Johnson. And I believe Louis Oosthuizen has also rescinded his PGA membership. But they can still go back and play in the open events, which again are governed by the USGA and or the British Golf Association, which would be the British Open. But fascinating concept, and the fact that the PGA seems a little bit helpless here. And it reminds me of back in the WHA, when the WHA challenged the Association of the National Hockey League. Nobody ever challenged them, and how free agents were pulled away. And I know there's a little bit more political and moral things involved here with being in bed with the Saudis. But it seems similar to me, like it's the WHA NHL kind of thing again.
Great comparison, actually. But to me, what I'm really curious about too is to watch how, you talked about how they can come back in, and the whole contractor perspective of it all. And it's like, you look at a guy like Bryson, for example. Bryson's going to go over there. Bryson's probably going to make a ton of money over there. And again, all this contracted money, they still get their prize pool, which is insane on top of that. It just, what does the PGA do at this point? And the other thing too, is if you look at who's still remaining in the PGA, okay, if you look at the names that are still left, you got your Rorys of the world.
Great players, young.
Absolutely. Absolutely you do. But were you surprised that I know that we joked about it and you've been harassing me about Tiger Woods for the last little while now, but overall, the rumors floating around what the Saudis offered Tiger to go over and play in the LIV tournament and play in their league. Are you shocked he wouldn't have taken that money and gone, or do you think he has something else to prove? Like, I guess that's the name to me that's just like, I know he just got back, and although he did just withdraw, I know that he was supposed to play and he withdrew. His knee was bothering him. But overall, I'm surprised to see that he's got nothing left to prove with the PGA unless he thinks now he can legitimately win again.
It's actually a concept that could work for him as a team competition and only 54 holes, because he didn't complete the last tournament he was in. So we better move along, Chris. The NBA has the Warriors and the Celtics. I think two teams that are contrasting in regards to the Celtics being so dominant defensively and the Warriors in their time being so offensively. What I've noticed throughout these NBA playoffs, Chris, is the lopsidedness of some of the games, the conclusions and/or during the games, big swings in scores between the two teams. It has nothing like what we saw when the Raptors won and how many dramatic events there was and how many close games there were. I'm kind of disappointed with that. And the NHL has overshadowed the NBA in the drama that's involved in a championship run.
Right. Now, overall, when the finals started, did you see this even being close, or did you think that Golden State was going to run away with it?
No. Celtics are full marks for knocking off Miami and the other teams, Philadelphia, I believe, on the way, or was it Milwaukee? Either way, they're full marks for being where they are. But big games are coming up this week when they go back to Boston. So I think both teams have their ups and downs. Certainly, if the Warriors aren't hitting shots, they're not scoring, and they need to be offensive that way, and especially from long range. And of course, Curry is the main guy. He is the main guy, no matter what you say. If he's on, the team is on. And I still think the Warriors' offense can beat defense here.
I do too, but I will say this though: if you are rooting for the Celtics, they're not going to win because of home court advantage. There's a lot of great things. You talked about the defense the Celtics have been running, but you're right. You got to keep Steph off the perimeter. You put up 21 in the first quarter the other night. But again, Clay's not playing to what he's potentially used to playing to. Draymond's just an ogre who runs around and does what he does best. But overall, it's been an exciting NBA final. I can't wait to see who comes out on top. Well, Jerry, it's been a great show, but it's time for the wrap. We're going to start right off the hop with the CFL. It is underway. Kickoff starts for the new season tonight. What are your thoughts?
It is started underway tonight, Chris, after the little kerfuffle they had in the spring and the early summer about contracts and the Players Association. They're going to get back in the field. The preseason was a little shortened, but they're ready to roll, and it all starts tonight. Montreal plays in Calgary in a late game, and then tomorrow the defending two-time defending champion Winnipeg Blue Bombers host Ottawa at home. If you remember correctly, the season didn't end till December. Usually the Grey Cup's in November, and because of COVID last year, it ended in December. Bombers beat Hamilton in overtime to claim the 108th Grey Cup. I'm looking forward to the CFL. I love football. Speaking of football, there's a changing of the guard at the Broncos front office. Chris, what's going on there?
Rob Walton, the heir to the Walmart fortune, looks like he's purchased the Denver Broncos for $4.5 billion per Forbes magazine right now, although Forbes had the team valued at about 3.7, but he said the hell with it, let's just get the deal done. So it looks like that's going to happen. But the question mark you have to ask yourself is a $4.5 billion conversation coming into play here for the Broncos? Think about down the road, if Jerry Jones ever decides to sell the Cowboys for some ridiculous reason, you got to think they're going to 10 to 15 billion at that point. But there is a new man in charge in Denver, and I'll be curious to see. Hey, you never know, maybe you'll see Broncos gear in Walmart as soon as you possibly think about it. What about Aaron Donald, the new contract, Jerry?
Well, still with football, the Rams defensive end, who can be easily called the MVP and has been called the MVP many times and was an integral part in the Rams winning the Super Bowl. And he has a new contract. Now, this is a contract that usually you see quarterbacks get, but Aaron Donald, the next 3 years, is going to make $95 million. And the thing is about Aaron Donald, he threatened, or I guess he didn't expose, but he had some sort of inkling that he might retire and leave on a high note after winning the Super Bowl. But money always brings him back, Chris, and I don't blame Aaron Donald. He still has a lot to give, and I'm sure the Rams are really happy about that. The Canadian men's soccer team, are they happy about getting back on the field, Chris?
Well, there's still a lot of work to be done in regards to getting a new deal finalized, Jerry. But yes, they took practice on the week. And again, another event happening tonight. Canada is playing Curacao, BC Place in Vancouver. It's going to be an exciting situation. I mean, Canadian soccer has been thriving this year. It's an exciting thing to be a part of. You know, you look at how this team has gotten involved and how backed behind in the country is. But either way, I know there's still a deal to be done, but I'm happy to see them back on the pitch. Can't wait to see what's going to happen here tonight. And to close it out, let's talk about New Brunswick senior baseball. Jerry, I know it's near and dear to your heart.
You got that right. I was just going to say that. It is very near
I
to my
know.
heart. And I'm so happy that all 5 teams are back again this year. Of course, last year, the Fredericton Royals and the Chatham Ironmen did not play in the New Brunswick Senior Baseball League. And the Charlottetown Islanders ended up to be the champs. Well, the Islanders are sitting on top of the standings, so it was no fluke. They're 4-1, and the thing they do well, Chris, is not allow the other team to score. In 5 games, they've only allowed 14 runs. That's 2.80 ERA, and they're led by Jordan Stevenson, who has an earned run average of .78. The St. John Alpines are 3-3. The Fredericton Royals are 2-3. Moncton's 2-3. Chatham's on the bottom at 0-1 because they haven't played any games. They're supposed to play tonight, their home opener. I think that might get rained out as well. They've had 3 games rained out already as they get ready to host a game against Moncton tonight, possibly, if it doesn't rain. Chris, what about the Canadian Open? Hopefully it doesn't rain in Toronto, but the news ain't great, is it?
No. It'll be interesting to see, of course, with RBC, the Canadian Open this weekend, without the face that's been there for so long, as he chose to head over to the Saudi League and the Live, which also kicks off this weekend. But it'll be really interesting to see what approach it takes. But with all these athletes taking out, I'll be curious to see. There's still a couple big names playing in the tournament this weekend. But overall, it'll be different to see, without having DJ there, it's going to be weird. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. That's going to do it for us tonight, guys. You had a great show. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week.